Today I'm going to be replacing the fuel leak-off lines on my vehicle. What's brought this on basically is I did find that there is a pipe leaking indeed here. There are various signs. You do get damp when you squeeze them, which lets air in and gives you running issues basically. So I do have some replacement pipe, and without further ado we'll crack on. So we're going to remove these injectors. In theory these should just pop clean off, so we're going to just keep rotating them to see if we can make them give. I'm just going to apply some grips on a little bit down the pipe and just use a little bit of rotating force to free them off. So I've actually freed that off. It did actually break on me, which shows how brittle the pipes are. That I did actually find a small screwdriver was invaluable in removing them. Just do work safely with it, and we'll remove the other side. So now we've got one side loose. It should help us really. There's a bit of diesel residue going on my hands. If you don't want that to happen, do wear gloves. Personally, I like the dexterity. There's no way that's going to come off. That has been happily there for probably in the region of 20 years. So we just want to give it a bit of encouragement. I think I'll get a Stanley knife. Knowing that that's steel, I'll just give that a cut there. So I'll just weaken it ever so slightly using the knife, and hopefully we should be able to remove it. I'm just going to repeatedly score it, working away from myself. Do this very safely, as I'm trying to do. And there we go, that's one liberated. So, next stage is cut the replacement pipe approximately to length. I have actually lost a little bit of this, and do use scissors instead of a saw, because we don't want any shavings or anything going into the pipe. So we'll insert that this end. You can actually use some tiny little zip ties or clips if you desire, but I'm gonna see how it works as intended and not put any clips on it, because I believe this should be a leak-proof solution in itself. So I'll just continue further down the line. We now have replaced all the fuel lines, with the exception of the very end one. They were actually in poor condition, and I will show you them close up. This one here, I'm not sure, but I've reason to believe it is actually plastic, so I'm going to have to be ultra careful when using that. I did actually use the Stanley knife technique to cut the lot off. They were just fast solid, but these have been on for 20 years, so I suppose that is to be expected. So I'll remove that first to give me the best chance of removing this one carefully, because then I can rotate it on this end. I've found the Stanley knife technique works best. I'll just gently score it repeatedly, and it helps it give up. You can kind of feel when you're close. So this one, the one what's making me nervous, would be nice in a good world. See, they've actually hardened quite a lot. If I could just rotate it, that's not going to happen. I think what I'll do, I'll maybe put that in some grips, and I think I'll just use the screwdriver to weaken the braiding off. And then when we get to the softer rubber, that should flex. in theory. Well, that is hardened, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. Try and get that turning. No, it don't want to turn. Well, more persistence required. I'll just do a few shallow cuts with a knife, keeping my fingers out of the way of the fall of the blade. I'd really love to capture the moment where it gave up on film. So just by repeatedly scratching with a screwdriver, we've managed to weaken this to the extent where it will come off. I'm really pleased with that, and there is no damage to this plastic pipe. This is probably how you'd have to go about it if you were replacing injectors with plastic fittings. So we're going to cut the replacement pipe to size, and if you do have injectors on an angle, it may pay to angle this, but I don't have that problem, so every cut I do is going to be flush. And we'll refit the final fuel pipe to the injector, and then the plastic fitting, just wiggle round in circles or any which way you can. One thing what I am going to do with this particular car, I can see there that rubber hose has been rubbing against that injector pipe. I'm just going to use a little zip tie just to clamp this pipe to that bracket there and keep it well and truly away from that point of failure. So hopefully this will prevent a future problem. Lovely, that's just right. I'll clip that off without constricting the pipe too much. And yeah, let's show you these hoses. So the hoses were actually in worse shape than what I realised. Hopefully you can see that's where I made the Stanley knife incisions. So the pipe is actually on the top, and this is the view you're getting. But when you turn it underneath, you can see where diesel's been leaking. It's like black carbon, and I may as well just take this opportunity to show you the lot. They're varied, but there are some little horror stories here, so that may explain some rough running issues I have been having. So I think with that job done, it's now time to start the vehicle up and see how it runs. I'm expecting it to run a little rough, as there is quite a lot of air in these pipes. Yeah, I think it hesitated on the first chuck, but we're now running quite happily, and I'm expecting it to be a little lumpier than usual. I'm just going to give it a rev just to see if that smooths things out. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. The good news is I have now fixed my injector leak. So I put the cover back on the car. I'm reasonably confident that all is good under there, and we'll get to the pipe I used. The actual dimensions of the pipe are 3.2 by 7 mil, and this one's got a stamp on it with a DIN. It looks like DIN 733. It's very difficult to make out actually, but it is sold by the metre and a metre of this did cost £3.29 delivered. So that is one inexpensive repair. So why not subscribe to learn of more low cost repair solutions.